trust.
On World News Tonight this Wednesday, the first budget surplus in a generation, $70 billion. Where did it come from? Who gets the credit? And how will it now be used? The most dangerous threat to health on a college campus. We'll take a closer look at binge drinking. And medical technology on the cutting edge again tonight, the smart stretcher taking the emergency room to the patient.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with an impressive accomplishment. At the end of this fiscal year, the federal government will have taken in about $70 billion more than it spent. We knew it was coming. The amount of money from taxes is up in every single category. Nonetheless, the last time there was a surplus of any magnitude was almost 30 years ago, which means, as you can imagine, all sorts of people who want political credit for this and a vigorous debate about how the surplus money should be spent. So we go to Washington and ABC's John Cochran.
Thank you.
It happened on Bill Clinton's watch, so he was eager to brag about how long it has been since the government took in more dollars than it spent.
29 years ago, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. Bonanza was one of our top-rated TV shows, and Sammy Sosa was 1 year old.
Actually, there are a lot of people who can take a share of the credit. 5 years ago, the president pushed through an unpopular budget that increased gasoline taxes and raised a lot of tax revenue. Economic growth provided still more tax dollars. Republicans in Congress held down spending and passed a balanced budget. And ordinary Americans should get credit for paying all those taxes and increasing their productivity on the job. As for what to do with the surplus, it is the politicians who will decide. House Republicans want to set aside 90% of the surplus to protect Social Security, but use the rest for a huge tax cut. President Clinton argues all the money should be set aside until the Social Security issue is resolved.
This, in a sense, is a club that the president has. He's saying, come to the table, Republicans, and cut a deal with me on Social Security, or I won't free up some of these resources.
Social Security is a hot issue because vast numbers of baby boomers will start retiring soon. And unless Washington kicks in more money, 31 years from now, retirees will lose 25% of their benefits. The president says he will veto any big tax cut until the future of Social Security is guaranteed. And the polls, which he pays a lot of attention to, show he is on the popular side in this debate. John Cochran, ABC News, Washington.
Other economic news of note: the day after the Federal Reserve's modest quarter-point cut in short-term interest rates, some banks have already cut their prime lending rates. They normally do after a Fed cut, but others are holding back, a sign that they think that lending has become riskier. Another sign of international economic trouble: the International Monetary Fund has slashed its estimate of world economic growth for this year and next year by more than 1%, to the lowest level in 7 years. And on Wall Street, the Dow Jones lost just under 238 points today to close at 78.42. On the NASDAQ market, stocks lost 40 points. From the international community today, including the United States, calls for an international investigation of a massacre in the former Yugoslavia. The Serbs have been running a violent campaign against ethnic Albanians in the province of Kosovo for more than 7 months now. The U.S. and its allies in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization have repeatedly told the Serbian leader, Slobodan Milosevic, to stop or else. It has not been a credible threat. The massacre in the tiny village of Gornje Obrinje makes it very clear. Here's ABC's Mike Lee.
In this village, 18 Albanian civilians, including children and old people who could hardly walk, much less fight, were slaughtered. Others who escaped say that Serb forces had executed everyone they could find. An American human rights observer was at the scene yesterday.
All of them had been shot in the head, and it appeared that they had been shot from close range. And the bodies were had signs of bodily mutilation.
20 miles to the north, another atrocity. This time, a group of at least 5 refugees on the run after their village had been destroyed were murdered. This Albanian man says he saw the horror. They stripped one woman and cut her ears and nose and fingers off. After a while, they shot her. Serb officials said today the massacres were actually carried out by Albanian extremists against their own people in an effort to provoke Western military intervention. But Western officials say the Serbs have committed a series of murders over the past 6 months. This latest carnage was carried out while Serb forces were telling the world their offensive was over. The Serbs have now left much of the Kosovo countryside in ashes and in agony. 800 people are dead. 300,000 Albanians are homeless. Mike Lee, ABC News, London.
Great Britain has called an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council tomorrow to condemn the killings. There have been condemnations before. The question now is, will there be action? Here's ABC's John McCarthy.
In Bosnia, it was the Marketplace Massacre in 1994 that first energized public opinion and forced the governments of Europe and the U.S. to exert pressure on the Bosnian Serbs. But it still took 18 months and yet another massacre before NATO was pushed into the air campaign that eventually helped to end the war. Today, there were tough words from capitals all over the world in the aftermath of the newly discovered massacre in Kosovo.
NATO is now ready to act. President Milosevic would be making a big mistake if he did not recognize the revulsion across Europe at this latest atrocity.
There are some top U.S. officials who say they would like to drop bombs on Serb troops in Kosovo this week. But other officials say it would be a terrible mistake for the U.S. to act alone in either diplomacy or use of force.
Those courses are best undertaken by countries working together who care about the future of Europe.
Many European countries say before any airstrikes, they want additional UN Security Council resolutions to provide them with political cover. Over the years, Serb leader Slobodan Milosevic has become a master at dealing with NATO by keeping the violence just below what might provoke the world to act.
I think Mr. Milosevic has read us beautifully. He knows how to deal with us. He has cleaned our clothes. He stripped us bare, and we have gone along with it.
Most veteran Milosevic watchers believe he will withdraw his troops and agree to peace talks, but not until he is convinced that airstrikes are imminent. John McCarthy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
When we come back, some of today's other news. A controversial television show under attack even before it hits the air. And the portable ER, treating and moving the patient at the same time. Technology on the cutting edge.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Tylenol PM.
Morning seems so much brighter after a good night's sleep. That's why I love my Tylenol PM. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. I used to worry about taking something. How would I feel in the morning? And then I tried Tylenol PM. It stops my pain and helps me sleep. So in the morning, I'm rested, refreshed, ready to make the most of my day.
Rest easy. It's Tylenol PM.
Enterprise rent a car for my trip? Looks expensive.
It's not expensive, Mom.
They pick us up? Sounds expensive.
Pickup's free, Mom.
Well, if it's not expensive, why didn't I get a convertible?
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
From now on, embarrassing odor from bladder leakage won't stop me from going where I want to go.
Or doing what I want to do, and it shouldn't stop you.
Introducing A&D personal care products for bladder leakage in soothing dry lotion and cleansing towelettes. It's the first line of products made to capture and eliminate urine odor on contact and soothe irritated skin.
Ordinary lotions or wipes can't do that.
You'll feel fresh, clean, and odor-free all day.
New A&D personal care. A&D as in odor-free.
As we said, a new television program is in trouble even before it gets on the air. The United Paramount Network, UPN, is withdrawing the initial installment of a show called The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. The show has been attacked for racially offensive jokes. Television networks are constantly redrawing the lines of what's acceptable. In this instance, the question is, did UPN go too far? Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
Protesters collected this morning at the gates of Paramount Studios, demanding the show's cancellation. The United Paramount Network, which has more black viewers than any other network, has offended a core audience.
Anything that they reflect about slavery in a comedic way
is unacceptable.
The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer intends to lampoon the Clinton presidency through a black servant's view of Abraham Lincoln's Civil War White House.
The president having sex with someone who works at the White House. Preposterous.
The show got into early trouble when advance copies circulated and people saw jokes about slavery.
The slaves haven't been emancipated yet. Get your feet off the table, Pfeiffer.
I just love my massa so. I'll just be standing here in case she be needing something.
A UPN executive defended Desmond Pfeiffer during an appearance on black entertainment television.
This is not a show about slavery, nor does it trade on slavery. It's a show that satirizes American life.
Some television critics and newspaper columnists say the show is the product of a notion in comedy that these days anything goes.
That's a silly, ineptly done historical spoof that has managed to stumble into offending people. Certainly not on purpose, but apparently very effectively.
Any UPN executive who looked out his window today could see that no one in this crowd was laughing. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Hollywood.
Other news across the southeastern United States today, the last gasp from Georges. On Dauphin Island, Alabama, homes are still underwater, power is still out. Damage to roads and bridges alone is estimated at $1 million there. In Mississippi, where Georges first hit shore 3 days ago, thousands of people are still not able to go home because of the high water. When we come back, binge drinking on campus. We'll take a closer look.
55. What'll it be?
We'll take some rice and...
Get some farf, too.
Yeah.
Now you can choose which teams you see every Sunday with DirecTV and NFL Sunday Ticket. There's up to 13 regular season games a week.
Price check on farm.
Hey, Brett. Hey, John.
So stock up on all your favorites. NFL Sunday Ticket. It's not on cable. See it on DirecTV. So what are you looking at?
Attention shoppers. Now get $200 worth of programming when you get DirecTV.
I know a place.
This is not a country for wimps. We invented the cowboy, the jawbreaker, and the quarterback blitz.
I'll take you there.
We are rough on our cars. So get a Chevy Malibu. It'll go up to 100,000 miles before its first scheduled tune-up. Transmission fluid, 100,000 miles. Engine coolant, 5 years or 150,000 miles. We're talking tough. The car you knew America could build. The Chevy Malibu.
I'll take you there. Oh.
Looking vibrant is reserved for the very young. Do you believe that? In Europe, women like us have tested a breakthrough concept in skincare. New Pro-Vital from Oil of Olay.
The healthy radiance feels like it's coming back.
These products are created especially for maturing skin. Formulas that can immediately change the look of the skin.
Now Pro-Vital from Oil of Olay is available in the U.S.
I love the feel of my skin again.
New Pro-Vital from Oil of Olay. Proven to help you look revitalized.
So how is my pot roast?
Almost as good as Aunt Rosie's.
Well, it should be. It's her recipe. Oh. Let's call her.
But it's long distance. Wouldn't that be expensive?
Not if you dial 10-10-321 first. Saves a ton.
How's it work?
Just dial 10-10-321, then 1, then Aunt Rosie's number. Is it okay if we all say hello?
Sure. Talk away. 10-10-321 is a real bargain. All my calls over 20 minutes are half price.
Let's pass that phone around.
Rosie, does this smell familiar?
Who doesn't want to save 50%?
We're going to take a closer look tonight at one of the most dangerous health hazards that college students particularly face. Binge drinking is not suddenly new on American campuses, but it is still decidedly destructive. Binge drinking is 5 drinks in a row for a man, 4 for a woman. A study from the American Academy of Pediatrics today finds that nearly a third of boys under 18 say they have 6 or more beers or cocktails every time they drink. And 16% of all teenagers say they have blacked out and couldn't remember the previous evening because they were drinking. And one more, a recent Harvard study found that more than half of students say that they drink to get drunk. Here's ABC's Antonio Mora.
On fall weekends, rooting for the Cougars is a Washington State University ritual. For many here, so is the partying and heavy drinking that often follows.
We work all week. Friday, Saturday is time to have fun and go out. And a lot of people abuse alcohol on the weekend.
So much so that in past years, student bingers regularly ended up at the detoxification unit at the university's hospital. On this campus and many others, people are especially sensitive to the issue because just last year, binge drinking killed one student at Louisiana State University and another at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. For college administrators and parents, binge drinking has become a primary campus safety concern. They realize that binge drinkers are not only a danger to themselves, they're a danger to others. That's because binge drinking is associated with many, if not most, campus car crashes, sexual assaults, and incidents of vandalism.
On any given Friday or Saturday night, about 80% of what I do is alcohol-related.
Washington State decided enough was enough. After seeing an earlier Harvard study on binge drinking 5 years ago, the school recognized it had to take a stand. In consultation with the study's authors, the school banned alcohol from all public places on campus. That means no drinking allowed at football games, at dorm events, or even at fraternity parties. Still, no one believes drinking will just disappear.
Do I think it will evaporate and go away? No. No more than I think alcohol will drop out of all of our society.
That's not stopping Washington State and other colleges from taking a hard line, hoping to reduce alcohol abuse. Students who want to drink are furious. They don't want colleges to be babysitters, and their protests at times have turned violent. Last May, police used tear gas to break up a crowd at Michigan State University. At Washington State, a day later, students attacked police who were trying to stop rowdy partying near off-campus bars. Some blame the violence on the anti-drinking policies. Other students have sided with those tougher policies, and nationwide, more and more fraternities are going on the wagon, choosing to go dry.
People feel more comfortable going into a fraternity knowing that they can hang out and have fun, and someone's not gonna, like, here you want a beer, here you want a beer, or you know, things like that.
At Washington State, they are finding small signs of improvement. Binge drinking has only landed one student in the hospital. Even though the school year is only 6 weeks old, that's still something to celebrate. Antonio Mora, ABC News, New York.
But sometimes the best efforts don't get anywhere. And when kids start drinking at 14, we look around for reasons why. Some of the answers might be right here in front of us.
Hey, you know what? This is pretty good.
The professionals who deal with alcoholism are concerned that drinking is all too common on television.
From a very early age, kids watching television get the idea that all adults drink. Television normalizes alcohol consumption, and they make it look like any other beverage.
A recent survey by Temple University found that in 50 hours of primetime programming, there were between 2 and 4 alcohol-related scenes per hour. And many of the shows are designed for the young. The president's drug czar says the average teenager will have watched 65,000 episodes of drinking by the time he or she is 18. The obvious question, is there a connection between young people drinking and drinking as it's portrayed on television?
Well, the more they see drinking on television, the more likely they are to drink.
Many television producers say that in the 90s they will lose in the ratings race if they don't show life as it really is. But Brian Dyack, who works for the television industry, says this is not the place to look.
I think teenagers learn about drinking first in their home before they ever turn a television set on. If their family doesn't drink, they learn about it from their friends or in the neighborhood or within the community.
None of the networks would talk to us on camera. But in a written statement, ABC said that most scenes with alcohol depict its use with moderation. When this is not the case, we must always show the consequences. ABC will find many who do not agree.
Very often you'll see characters, particularly in situation comedies, drinking a lot. The more they drink, the funnier they get. That's a very bad message to be sending to kids.
When we come back, medical technology on the cutting edge. Tonight, the smart stretcher, treating the patient while en route.
Welcome to My Mailboxes, etc. You know, this may look like a regular mailbox, but let me tell you the secret. You get a street address, not just the P.O. box number. That means we can sign for your FedEx shipments and other packages. You get an entire support staff. Where else are you going to be able to call and check your mail? I mean, come on, who's going to do that for you? We'll also forward that mail anywhere in the world. Can your mailbox do that?
You could win $50,000. Play What's in the Box, now at your neighborhood mailboxes, etc.
Open wide. It's new Friskies Dental Diet. Boys, here's great tasting news you can chew. If you want strong choppers, you gotta keep them clean. Whoa, remember this guy? Never brushed.
New Friskies Dental Diet helps reduce plaque and tartar buildup by 25%. So now your cat can feast on Friskies and crunch his teeth clean with every bite.
Toothbrushes? Oh, poor humans.
New Friskies Dental Diet. Bring out the Frisky in your cat.
Movies have taken us places beyond our imagination. Now you can take those movies to places you never thought possible. Introducing the Silhouette Premier from Oldsmobile. The first minivan with a video entertainment system built right in. It gives motion pictures a whole new meaning. The Silhouette Premier. Only from Oldsmobile.
It hurts so bad. That burning sensation. So I saw my doctor. He said where heartburn hurts most is where Mylanta works fast. All down through here where you want help fast. My doctor said Mylanta.
Traffic sounds bad.
Yeah, so tell me about Cantex.
Just jump to 43 even. You're long 20,000.
What's the best way to sell that?
Checking the quote. There's a huge size on the bid. No need to break it up. You can move it as a block.
Good, sell it at market, okay?
Placing an order, moving 20,000.
Moving nowhere in Santa Monica.
Confirmed, 20,000 sold at market.
Can you give me the peonies?
And now the last in our series this week, at least, about medical technology on the cutting edge. Tonight, technology on the move. The Pentagon is always trying to get effective medical assistance out to wounded soldiers faster. Today, they showed us their latest MASH unit. It starts as a 5 by 10 foot box that is dropped very close to a combat zone, and in about 15 minutes, today it took 16 minutes and 30 seconds, a 10-person team can set up a 30-foot hospital ready for surgery and for post-op. Officials point out that it is a civilian use as well, which is also the case for a very new, very advanced stretcher. Here's ABC's Jack Smith.
In war, as many as 50% of the wounded can die on their way to a hospital. In civilian disasters, it's the same. Too much distance between the casualty and the care. But there's a remarkable new solution. Bring critical hospital services out to the patient during the so-called golden hour.
It's the hour immediately following an injury, and the treatment that you can give during that time is really important.
With revolutionary advances in computer technology and miniaturization, engineers have built the world's first smart stretcher, essentially a portable intensive care unit.
This provides breathing air to the patient.
Packed into this high-tech stretcher, just 5 inches high, are nearly a dozen advanced medical devices right out of a hospital. Devices to keep patients breathing, keep their hearts beating, pump drugs into them, monitor their vital signs, and test their blood. And this information is relayed immediately to the hospital ahead of them.
The same kinds of devices, medical devices for either monitoring or therapeutics you'd find in an emergency room or an intensive care unit you'd see on this platform.
The prototype does weigh a hefty 135 pounds, but future models will be lighter.
Airway is fine.
It's already been tested by the Army, and the Food and Drug Administration has given its approval, so it goes into production later this year.
Is that going to make a difference? I believe it will. I believe we'll be able to save lives we couldn't save before.
A breakthrough in medical care for combat casualties and civilian disaster victims alike. Technology that gives both a better chance of surviving. Jack Smith, ABC News, Pico Rivera, California.
When we come back, updating a classic, the new Grand Central Station.
You may be surprised who's drinking Ensure. Healthy people. Why? Because to help you stay healthy, you have to eat right. For the times you can't eat nutritious foods like these, drink Ensure. with the essential vitamins and minerals you find in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish. Ensure is a source of complete balanced nutrition to help you stay active and energetic. Drink Ensure, and drink to your health.
Recently, we flew Carrie Eisenhandler and her family to Johns Hopkins for surgery to correct a pre-existing heart condition. We flew Eric Gonzalez to the Cleveland Clinic because of their renowned expertise in treating Crohn's disease. Hopefully, these stories fly in the face of the belief that healthcare isn't what it used to be. We're Aetna U.S. Healthcare, raising the quality of healthcare in America.
There is no limit to where it can take you. With a leather-trimmed and preferred suede interior, heated front seats, 200-watt CD sound system, and dual-zone temperature control. Winner of the Total Quality Award for Best Ownership Experience. The most luxurious minivan you can buy. Chrysler Town & Country. We call it limited. You'll call it unlimited. Chrysler, engineered to be great cars.
Tonight, a man on trial for murder, a juror seduced by his kiss.
He pulled me towards him and he kissed me.
And what happened then?
My knees went to jelly.
A forbidden affair, a surprise verdict. Diane Sawyer, Sam Donaldson, 2020, tonight.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn. More local news at 6:30. Find out why a Bill Sizemore measure on the November ballot has teachers up in arms. And meet one of our local kid heroes who's quietly achieving at everything. Stay tuned for Channel 2 News at 6:30.
Finally this evening, a truly grand reopening for a great American building. Tomorrow here in New York City, the terminal at Grand Central Station will be rededicated. Tonight, a preview of what you get after a renovation that took 10 years and cost $200 million. It is so much more than a train station. It is functional, certainly, but it is also breathtaking.
The great space here is not where the trains are. The great space is where the people are. We, New Yorkers, pass through it as if it's our town square.
John Bell is the architect responsible for Grand Central's restoration.
It's not an elitist building. It's a building that makes everybody feel welcome. Just walk across the marble floor and you feel like Fred Astaire. You feel like dancing. It's so wonderful.
Grand Central Terminal, as it's called, built in 1913, had pretty much gone to seed in recent years.
You couldn't see the creamy marble, the wonderful cornerstone, the great chandeliers.
When Grand Central first opened its doors on the eve of World War I, it was an elegant departure point for great trains such as the 20th Century Limited. From here, the rest of America was becoming accessible. In the 1970s, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis led a campaign to save the station from real estate developers. Today, it is a hub for commuters and for tourists.
500,000 people a day go through this building. That's the population of Cleveland.
And in the main concourse, under the Constellation ceiling, one can stand for a moment and simply absorb the history.
It's beautiful, just absolutely beautiful.
There's no building like this.
I want them to feel that we've brought back this space the way it was in 1913, but made it totally equipped for the next century.
For the next century. That's our report on World News Tonight. Later on, 2020 did an affair between a juror and a defendant influence a verdict. And on Nightline, have computers really helped in the classroom? I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Tomorrow, the Millennium Clock is ticking. This town may be ready, but their suppliers are not. Are we all headed for disaster? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.
Coming up next, you've seen the ad. Now find out why a measure to regulate unions is causing a civil war.